Hi science students, today we're going to break down AKS 2A, develop and use models of how cells are organized into tissues, tissues into organs, organs into systems, and systems into organisms. I'm going to use these 4 different colored pens and a black pen, as well as a highlighter as I go through and break down this AKS. You can use multiple colors as well, or you can choose to do this all with your pencil. Whatever's easiest for you. I want us to start by circling the AKS number. So AKS 2A is the one that we are looking at today. And then I want us to go through and mark the key vocabulary or key phrases in this AKS. So we're going to start with the science and engineering practice of developing and using models. We should also mark the key vocabulary words of cells, tissues, organs, systems, and organisms. I want us to also mark the word organized. Some of these words are repeated, so I'm only going to mark them once, but these are the words that I would mark as my key vocabulary and key terms. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to begin to break down these different terms and talk about what we've already reviewed in class. So let's start with develop and use models. What would that look like if a scientist were to develop or use a model? So I'm going to draw an arrow with my black pen here. And developing and using a model is going to be creating a visual and then using that visual as evidence to prove that a phenomena is occurring. So let's write that down. Creating a visual and using the visual as evidence to prove a phenomena occurs. In this case, we would be creating a visual. That could be a drawing, that could be a 3D depiction, that could be a piece of art or a photograph. That visual is going to represent the phenomena of cells being organized into tissues and tissues and organs in systems and systems making up the whole organism. We would then use that visual we created to prove that this occurs within an organism, whether it's a plant or an animal. So let's talk about the key terms. Let's talk about cells first. So cells, and I'm going to mark this with my black pen as well. Cells are going to be the most basic unit of a living thing. Whether this organism is unicellular or multicellular, cells are going to be the most basic unit. Breaking it down into its most simplistic form would be getting an organism to the cellular level. Tissues are going to be made up of several cells that all are working for the same job. So I'm going to put a box around the word tissues. Draw a little arrow. I'm going to write several cells working together. Let's go on to organs. Organs are going to be several tissues working together for the same job. So I'm never going to have some tissues that are bone tissue and then they're going to be attached to muscle tissue or skin tissue of some kind. All of the tissues are going to be performing the same function, or they're not going to be compounded together. So several tissues working together are going to make up an organ. Then I'm going to put a box around systems, we know that this is going to be body systems like the digestive system or the skeletal system. And those systems are going to be all of the organs that do that function of obtaining nutrients or removing waste. So we're going to write organs working together. And we know that organisms, our last term that we've marked here, are going to be complex living things. We're going to write that right here. I want us to create two little arrows that branch off though. And I want us to write the word unicellular, which we know means one cell, and multicellular, which we know means organisms that have more than one cell and often organisms that are multicellular have millions and trillions of cells. So let's talk about an example, and we're going to talk about muscles as our example. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so that we can see the bottom of my page. This is where I'm going to write this. And I'm going to use some different colors in order to mark this. So I'm going to start with my pink pen. You can use whatever color you choose. I'm going to underline this whole first segment. Cells are organized into tissues. So right down here is where I'm going to put my example. And so my pink part of my example is going to be muscle cells make up muscle tissue. I'm going to put a little star here. And above this, in a little bubble, I'm going to write example. So we've got our cellular level combining to make tissue. So then I'm going to use another color. I'm going to pick green. And I'm going to underline that second line. Tissues building to create organs. And so I'm going to write in green, muscle tissue makes up the heart, muscle, organ. Muscle tissue makes up the heart, muscle, organ. We know that the heart, that organ, is going to be a part of a larger system doing a job, transporting the blood around the body so that the body has the oxygen it needs and is able to remove the carbon dioxide. So I'm going to use my red pen now. I'm going to underline that third segment, organs into systems. So I'll put another little star, and I'm going to write the heart, veins, and arteries make up the cardiovascular system. And when we get into body systems, we will really go over in depth the cardiovascular system. But for now, we're going to write the heart, veins, and arteries. All of those separate organs come together to make that body system of the cardiovascular system. And then I'm going to use my last pen, the blue one, and I'm going to underline systems to organisms. I'll put a little star down here, and I'm going to write all body systems work together to maintain, and I bet you can guess the word I'm going to say, homeostasis. I'm going to zoom in on this example for a brief moment. So we've got our muscle cells making up tissue, our muscle tissues making up organs, our organs making up an organ system, all of our organ systems making up an organism. If you need to pause the video in order to copy any of this down, please do so. If not, have a good day. Bye-bye.